What's up, guys? Welcome once again to the Save Continue podcast. My name is Ryan Robinson. Bless you, Shanee.
Thank you.
This is Tom.
Hello.
Every week we get together, talk about video games, related topics, and we have a great time doing it. So I want to start off the show like I do always. How's it going, Tom? What video games have you played this week?
I've played actually very little video games this week. Played a little bit of The Sims 4. Played a little bit of War for Cybertron.
Okay.
But let me tell you something I'm excited about, though.
What's that?
I bought Humble's Capcom Rising bundle.
What is that?
It's the newest Humble bundle, but it's just a bunch of Capcom games. I think I paid like $12. I got Resident Evil 0.
Good.
Resident Evil 1 Remake.
Great.
DMC, which I haven't played.
I really like that game.
Dead Rising 2, Dead Rising Off the Record, Dead Rising 3.
Off the Record is my favorite.
Strider. I think that's it.
Yeah.
For like $12.
That's a good goddamn deal.
Yeah.
Because I consider each of those games to be worth more than that.
And I've only played 2 of those games.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You didn't play DMC, right?
The only bit of DMC I played was there was a part at Extra Life last year that you couldn't pass, and I passed that for you.
Like you were my older brother, and I handed you the controller.
It kind of felt that way because I'd never played that game.
Yeah.
And you had.
Yeah.
But sometimes I feel like that's what it is. Like I just get like a mental block, and I'm like, somebody else
Yeah.
should do this.
Sure.
That's not involved in it because I'm attached, and it's
Right.
pissing me off.
Fresh set of eyes.
But,
Yeah.
DMC seems to be like one of the most divisive games out there.
Yeah.
Like there's a ton of people that hate it and a ton of people that love it.
And see, I feel like everybody that hates it specifically because of the way Dante looks.
Yeah, which is kind of dumb. Like, I don't know. A lot of people refer to it as like emo Dante, and like to reduce a character to that level based on a haircut is kind of stupid.
Yeah.
But I'm not a huge fan of Devil May Cry in general.
Yeah.
So I don't think I have like any
Part 2 is the
Attachment.
worst one.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so I remember when that game was first announced, I was really, really excited about that game because, one, it was a new Devil May Cry, and two, it was a new Devil May Cry in the way that, like, tonally and aesthetically, like, everything, it was just different because before Dante was kind of like loud frat boy kind of character, and where he's kind of, he's not that exactly, and he's still very much a party boy, and he's actually kind of a douche still, but he's a douche that I can enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, of that bundle,
That's
I'm
not
most
nice.
excited to play that and to play through Dead Rising 3.
Because you never played Dead Rising 3 now.
The only Dead Rising I actually put time into was the first one.
Yeah.
So
I think you should.
I thought we played Dead Rising 3 together here.
nope.
Which Dead Rising did I play? Which one's the Xbox One version? Is that 4?
Well,
3 and 4.
4. But I think that if you would have played one, it would have been 3 when I brought my Xbox over last year.
Yeah, it is.
But I consider also Off the Record to be the best version of Dead Rising 2.
Yeah.
Because one, I guess I just like Frank West better. And
Well, he's the main character in 4.
yeah.
So, I don't know. It didn't come with 4.
Yeah.
But,
But I mean, you still got a shitload of games.
yeah.
And
And then Strider's fantastic. Like, the revamp of Strider is really good.
yeah, I remember when I got that on PSN a couple years ago.
Yeah.
It was around the launch of the PS4, right?
Shortly after, yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like at one point it was a PS Plus game.
I don't know.
But either way, that is a fantastic game too. I never beat it because I'm garbage at video games, but
I beat the shit out of that game.
yeah.
Yeah.
Shanee,
Yes.
I want to talk to you about what video games you've been playing this week. Or should I say video games singular?
Singular, Persona 5.
Mm.
I have put so much time into that game.
How is your high school journey going?
It's going pretty well. Jimmy and
Sarah.
Sarah gave me a couple tips that I've been putting into practice. I also had, like I said, I've been trying not to look at like a lot like too much online, But I mean, of course, I've broken down on a couple things. I'm just like, why am I not, what am I not getting about the situation?
Right.
Like, why can't I get this one persona to negotiate with me? Why am I picking the wrong answers?
Yeah.
And I quickly found out that there's no guide for all the persona shadow answers to get them. And but I completely skipped over the personality traits. So I forgot about them because I've played a Persona game before. But probably, I mean, the most time I've put into any of them is probably like a digital devil survivor.
Okay.
Well, and to be fair, like,
Which is not like a Persona
that's
game.
not a Persona game, right?
But it's still like.
And even like Persona 4, which is the most recent Persona, was like over a generation ago.
Yeah.
Over the longest generation ago. You know, so yeah. I could see forgetting some stuff in that time.
Yeah. So I forgot about personalities, and I didn't know about personalities, and so yeah, I've just been. It's been going well.
Which palace are you on?
I just finished the third one.
Wow, you're blazing through that game.
Oh man, I'm being so kind and trying to get those stats up, but it's so guts and kindness, man, are kicking my butt as far as stats go.
Yeah.
And I want to get the gun shop guy. So I've just been.
Yeah, that was kind of my driving force behind leveling up Guts also. And I always feel like it would be really cool if I could know how close I was to the next level of this thing.
Dude, I want to know what like the ranking system, how many points per one. I wish there was like a meter.
Yeah.
Like you have like 18 out of 20 points to go up to this level.
Yeah.
That would be great. That would be great because I'm honestly just like, man, should I like build this confidence stat with like this thing that nobody's like told me is like good?
Yeah.
Or should like I like by like or hang out with Ryuji, and I'm like, should I be hanging out with him, or should I just go get some guts so I can get this gun guy? Because I don't know.
At that point, though, wouldn't it feel more like a Ubisoft game? Like it would feel more like a checklist,
Sure.
you know?
Sure.
Which I don't think is what they go for in that series or any of their series.
I just want to know. I want to know so it'll be helpful towards like making decisions, man.
Yeah.
Everything. And said so I'm just like. Yeah, I have a little book, and I have, like, what happens on Mondays, Tuesdays, like, Wednesdays, Thursdays, all that jazz. Like, hey, which gives you a better bonus that, like, I'm finding out or somebody has told me. So, yeah, I've just been getting real hard into Persona.
How do you feel about Ryuji? Because I feel like I'm the only person that likes him.
Oh, I don't dislike him, but, besides the second dungeon, or in the third dungeon, I didn't really feel like, I felt he was more of a hindrance because because of the, what is it called? Avenged Defender, the armless and legless guy.
Yeah.
That like was electric, and then there's a couple other ones that like used his weakness.
Wind.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like I felt like he kind of got wrecked anytime I'd had him in my party in the third palace. So I don't have a problem with Ryuji as a storyline or as a character. I'm pretty like meh about him. I don't feel either way. But I also like I haven't heard anything or like seen any real benefit of putting a lot of time into him versus like the doctor.
Okay.
Who like has been giving me like discounts and stuff. And I think her story is like really interesting too.
Have you picked a girlfriend yet?
No, because I just got fortune, so I can't. Somebody told me that you can't do relationships until you get fortune.
Yeah, but I mean, have you picked who you want?
Oh, all of them.
You want all of them.
All of them.
Are you surprised?
I'm gonna try
Not
and get all
really.
of the girlfriends.
Okay, so you want all of the girlfriends.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, because that's not gonna happen. So
You think it won't?
I'm certain it won't. Yes. You should just pick who you want to be your girlfriend, and make them your girlfriend. No, okay.
Well, I'm gonna try and get them all to at least like basic girlfriend status.
What is basic girlfriend status?
Where like I at least get to the point where they're like giving me love, and then I'm gonna drop them and go to the next girl.
Man, you are ruthless.
Yeah. Kind of a monster.
Yeah, I did look up as well if like any of the characters like you can't boost their stats up before a certain point, because that is pretty spoilery, but like I didn't feel like that was like pertaining to the story necessarily. Like if
And why waste your time?
Like, well, also just like, hey, which ones do I need to like are just gonna be a timed thing, because I was like scared of that.
Sure.
So there's a couple that are like timed, but they're like way in the distant, like they're like months from me.
Yeah.
Because I still have, because I beat the palace with like 8 days to spare, or like, yeah, maybe a little more. But yeah, so I've just been like, I've been beating the palaces early. So, well, I've tried to beat the second and the third palace early, so I could use those other days to like boost stats.
Yeah.
And also I don't know how long these palaces are gonna take. And with the second one, like, you know how you have to like get back to the real world and like, and then go to the metaverse over and over again. I didn't know how many times I was gonna have to do that. So I've just been like going through the dungeons and just speeding them, because I'm just like, I don't know how many times I'm gonna have to come back here.
Yeah.
Which a part of me wants to like go and see how many days I can do all the dungeons in. That way I don't have to feel like stressed about it. But I'm leaving that alone.
Yeah.
I also forgot to mention, through swapped PlayStation primary profiles, I now have the Crash Bandicoot games for free.
Have you tried those out at all?
I have not played them yet. No, I haven't even installed them yet.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping to this week.
But you were a fan of the original, so.
I'm a fan of 2.
I see.
The other ones are okay. I don't dislike them, but yeah.
What was it about 2 that you liked?
It's, if you look at Naughty Dog's history with games, whether it be the Crash Bandicoot trilogy, and I say trilogy, I know there's more, but the 3 from Naughty Dog, the Jak and Daxter trilogy from Naughty Dog, or the Uncharted trilogy from Naughty Dog, the second one is always the best one.
Yeah.
It's just better. It improves gameplay mechanics. Camera angles are better. Move set is better. 3 kind of just copies all that stuff and throws a bunch of gimmicks at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how you felt about Uncharted 3 as well.
Oh no, I felt Uncharted 3 is very, very good, but it's not 2.
Yeah.
2 is significantly better.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what.
What have you been playing?
I started. I'm working my way through The Evil Within still.
Oh, nice.
You got to get ready.
I'm trying, man.
It's just the spooks are getting to you.
October 13th.
There was a part last night where I got really spooked.
Did you have nightmares? Did you take a long time to go to bed?
Well, I did have to play a game, like another game, before going to sleep. Yeah. But that game is, I'm surprised I'm actually surprised that it's taken me this long to actually put time into the game, because the game itself, like mechanically, like the game is really fun. Of
course it is.
The actual action portion of the game, they're fun. The puzzles, they're not like Silent Hill level puzzles where they're kind of difficult to figure out. Like they're just challenging enough to stop you for a few minutes.
Yeah.
But then you'll keep going right afterwards. All the the thing about the puzzles in The Evil Within though is if you get them wrong, it kills you. So then if you get the puzzle wrong, then you're back at a checkpoint. But other than that though, the game I'm actually having a really good time with. Like, it's really campy and the acting is like really cheesy.
I mean, that's Shinji Mikami. You know?
But it's like it's fun.
Yeah.
It's a fun game. Also,
you were a fan of Shadows of the Damned, correct?
Yes, I love that game.
Yeah.
I like Shadows of the Damned quite a bit, and actually,
do you consider that to be like one of the better video game collaborations?
Yeah,
we don't see a lot of them.
Yeah,
but with Shinji Mikami and Suda51 and all that, joining forces.
Yeah. I really Shadows of the Damned was actually a really there's so many interesting things about that game. The least of which was the names of the weapons. They all seem to be named after ding dongs, but
yeah.
Shadows of the Damned actually is just like a really fun third person shooter though.
And I'm sure that's Mikami's influence on that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like all the style is Suda 51,
Right.
but the mechanics are Mikami for sure. Now, also I restarted Life is Strange because I looked at the last time I had a save in that game was 2015. So I'd forgotten most of what happened. So I went back into that.
I 100%ed the first episode and then never continued.
Yeah, so I have I have the first 2 episodes of that game, and I remember starting the second episode, and then I guess I kind of fell off.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because I didn't like the game. I guess I get distracted.
I mean, on this show, you talked pretty highly about it when you played it.
Yeah, it is. It's a good game. I do remember though at the time being kind of put off by the visual choices, like as far as the character models.
I don't mind them.
I guess it just wasn't what I was expecting. But going back to it, I actually really do dig the visual style of that game.
Yeah.
So I've been playing that. Started a new hardcore character in Diablo 3.
Fun.
Is it a necromancer?
It was,
Yeah.
and then he died because I wasn't paying attention. And you think that you're gonna go back into it, I wasn't that far in. Like it was like 3 hours worth of game, but I died, and I was like, I started to go back into it, and then just like, nah, I'm not doing this.
There's an achievement for that game for finishing the main story with a hardcore character, right?
Well,
like
it's,
killing Malthael with a hardcore character, and like I was playing when I was playing with a group of friends from work. Me and my buddy, we both got the platinum trophy for that game, and our other friend, our third, like he kept losing his hardcore character over and over and over again. And man, it would be like he'd be at like level 58 and then die.
Yeah.
It was fucking hilarious.
That's so disheartening.
It was so
So
funny.
my first hardcore character, because this is a character that I used to get the hardcore trophy.
Yeah,
Like I was at level 68,
yeah.
and it was really late, and I was just like, and I started falling asleep.
Yeah.
I fell asleep for like a second, and I almost died.
You wake up and the screen's flashing.
Yeah, I woke up and the screen was flashing red. I was like, no. But yeah, so and
There are YouTube videos just of people failing at hardcore mode that are fucking hilarious.
I should watch those because
Yeah.
I like watching people get upset at video games. And
And like sometimes it won't be their fault. Like there's like an issue with the network or something.
Yeah.
And it comes back on, they're dead. It's so fucking funny.
Lastly, our friend Jimmy actually gifted me with a copy of Dragon Quest Builders.
Oh, nice. I hear great things about that game.
Yeah. I haven't opened it and played it yet, but I'm actually really looking forward to.
It's supposed to be pretty brief as well.
Yeah. So I'm probably gonna play that within the next week and then report back with my findings.
I'd like you to play that and Portal Knight and then tell me which is better.
Yeah, I had actually considered buying Portal Knight a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
and
I don't want to play both of them.
yeah,
I don't have time for both of them.
yeah, because they're basically like the.
So you play both
I'll play both.
and then tell me
Well,
which
see,
one to
like
play.
my investment will be minimal because I'll only have paid for one of them.
Well, the price.
Oh, money is of no object.
Yeah, I don't care about that. It's like
Oh.
tell me which one I should put time into.
Okay.
Because
I think Portal Knight's about $20 right now.
I'm not going back. I'm not going back to Minecraft. I'm done.
Yeah. Are you?
Yeah,
Are you
I'm
sure?
done.
Good?
Yes, I'm done. Unless something extremely significant comes out, I'm done.
Yeah.
You know,
He's gonna play it again.
But they
in
just
6
released
months.
that 4K
that's not out yet.
texture pack.
That's not out yet.
They just announced
You
the
gonna-
4K texture pack.
You gonna want that? You're not gonna want that?
I mean, I think it's neat. I think that a lot of people are shitting on it, and I think I joked about it as well. But
Yeah, you kinda
like,
shat on it too.
it's neat. It's hard to make a sequel for that game.
Like, what is the sequel for Minecraft?
Yeah. So if you can make it look better, and it does look better,
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah. Because how many versions of Minecraft do you own at this point?
I don't know, but I've probably bought half a dozen.
Yeah. Well, I'll bite the bullet on that, and I'll play Portal Knight and Dragon Quest Builders, and then I'll tell you which one is better.
All right. By next week.
By now.
By the end of the day.
Well, actually, I think I can accomplish that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So, guys, there's something. A lot of what I've been seeing online is people seem to have a really big problem with the resale model of most retail establishments where video games are concerned. You buy the game for what, 60 on average. You take it back, and the joke has always been, like, I think GameStop is the one that always gets the ire, where it's, you know,
$10 back.
yeah, like it was like I went to GameStop with 30 games and they gave me $5 or something like that.
Oh, 15 cents.
Yeah, or something like some kind of.
I'm sorry, we don't want your. I'm sorry, they don't want your stupid PS2 games.
The funny thing is that
Well, they do now.
the what?
She said they don't want your PS2 games. They do now.
Oh yeah,
Stupid ones.
Yeah.
only if we don't want the stupid ones. Give
We
us.
don't want the stupid ones. We want the good ones.
So, the funny thing is about that though, is I guess GameStop gets most of the criticism because
They're the largest.
they're the largest, right? But you know there are a lot of retailers that use resale as their sales model, and their prices are actually pretty similar.
Best Buy does it.
Yeah.
Pretty sure at a point Walmart did it.
Yeah.
I don't remember Walmart ever doing it, but you might be right.
I mean, I've never traded in a game at Walmart, but I've seen used games for sale at Walmart.
Like I think that with the advent of, you know, people buying more stuff online, like with Amazon making like a bigger push to for their retail stuff, I feel like the whole, like, the brick and mortar is like going to go away at some point. And but at the same time, I'm wondering why. I want to know why it is people are so critical of the whole model, right? Because, like, how do you turn a profit then?
It's people just wanting their money back after they've after they spent time with it, and being upset that they don't get all of it back.
Yeah.
And it's literally people just being babies and not really realizing how business works and how money works. So
Was your question why do people not like it, or how to turn it around?
Well, I guess it could be both, right? Because if people don't like it, then there's gotta be a way to improve upon it, or be some kind of alternative, right?
I think there is no way to improve upon it.
no, people are going to complain about it because they want to complain about something, and it's and it sounds like such an easy thing to like talk about, like, oh, I bought this game a week ago and now I'm only getting $25 or $30 back for it, and I bought it for $60.
Which I think is pretty reasonable.
I think is as well. Also, if you are concerned about getting the most for your buck, then put some effort into your life and look for when sales.
Jeez.
Yeah. No, I'm going to go ham on this because it just annoys me. And it's reselling of anything, not even just video games. People are like, why is this so expensive? It's used. I'm like, well, it's business. Like, yeah, they have to like pay for the stores. They have to pay for a lot of things. They have to pay for the employees and still try and make a profit on these used games. And like every place I know that does reselling of video games, GameStop, Amazon, Best Buy, all of them regularly have trade-in bonuses that change all the time, and sometimes they're better than others. And all you have to do is go on, if you have a smartphone or the internet, go to the library and see when these sales are. If you want the most for your dollar and you're like not satisfied with what you're getting, look at it. Look at what the trends are of like as far as like what things are gonna be worth. And if you have enough of a problem where you don't want that, and then wait till the game is not new and pay for it when it's cheaper. Like, it's literally all your decision, and then people bitch about their own decisions.
So, GameStop makes the majority of their money off of used game sales.
Yes.
We know this to be true.
Right.
So much, in fact, that they're not dumb, right? They see the market changing. This is why last year or the year before, they talked about looking into selling used digital copies of games, and a lot of people were like, that's so stupid. You know, how does that even work? It does work.
Yeah.
Nobody has agreed to do it yet. You have to have publishers on board with that, things of that nature. But it does work when PSN or Steam or Xbox Live puts up a new game for sale. Yes, they have an unlimited amount of those things to sell, but they pay for each key.
Right.
So in theory, it could work.
Like you relinquish your key back to them.
Right.
So
They've
they can
since
sell it.
GameStop has since stopped talking about this, and then we saw the creation of Game Trust, their publishing house, right?
Yeah.
With Song of the Deep being their first game, and then I don't know, they did Deformers. They've got a few of them now.
Yeah.
GameStop knows that it's coming, and they're trying to prepare for that.
I mean, they have to.
And I think it's inevitable.
I mean,
you said, how do you fix it? My response is, I don't think you do. I don't think you can.
Yeah.
I mean, they also took over ThinkGeek too a while back.
Sure.
They already did like a little bit of accessories here or there, but not to the extent that ThinkGeek does it. And they look like, if you look at a store now versus 6 years ago, there is a vast difference.
Right.
But as far as though like doing reselling of games, which is what I thought the topic actually was before I went on my soapbox about it, I think that there is still quite a large audience, obviously, that they don't want to do digital. They want that physical copy, and I do think that because like you can't trade in your digital copy, there are people that are going to buy the new game every single week,
right?
And they're going to like beat that new game within the week,
yeah.
And then you can trade it in, and some people will see that as, oh, instead of paying $6 for this game, we get the 25 or 30 off, and they're like, oh, I paid 30 or 35 for this game instead.
I think,
and that's how they kind of do their spending. And not to say that's a large majority of them, but I'm saying like there is plenty of like reasons that the brick and mortar is going to be around at least for a while. I do think it's going to go away, but for now,
you are right. There are people who like physical games. I was one of them. Ryan still is one of them. But as far as your argument about people buying a physical copy of a game, playing it within that week, and then selling it back, there are things that have been around at this point for years that kind of are, if you are playing games in that way, are more advantageous to you. Things like Redbox and GameFly and all that. Why spend $60 on a game to sell it back for $20 when you can spend $5 to have it for a couple days and beat it?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
As far as physical games go, you are correct. There's still a large group of people. I don't want to make it sound like it's small. There's still a significant amount of people that prefer physical copies. The fact is we see that number dropping every single year, more and more and more. So you're right. Will it be around for a few more years? Yeah, it'll probably be around for another decade. It won't be around forever.
Yeah, I think that the main reason for them to exist is...
And it only stays around as long as the big three decide to make physical copies of games.
Right. And also because, I mean, hardware.
And then like gift,
well, yeah,
and also gift giving, like people that don't know like what system you
Sure.
have. Like,
I don't.
Here's a GameStop
I don't
gift
like
card.
the hardware argument.
Well,
right?
I mean, you can get hardware online, sure, but I mean, we also live in like an instant gratification society.
I'm not even talking about online. So for those that don't know, the argument with hardware is that if you're not selling physical games, Walmart is not going to want to carry your console or your controllers or whatever it might be. I don't think that's the case. I think that Walmart would rather sell the console itself or the peripherals for the console than nothing at all.
Yeah.
But
because yeah.
We've talked about this before. It sucks if you like a physical thing, and I understand why people do. It sucks to see that it's dying.
Right.
But
change happens.
It's good for you too.
Yeah.
In the long run, it is good for you too.
Like, it makes economic sense.
It does, yeah.
But yeah, there's just also people that don't have great internet. There's people who don't want to put their credit card on any system.
I get that, but we've seen ways around that.
Yeah.
We've seen ways.
People just like are not gonna look that up.
Well, it's not. It has nothing to do with looking it up. There's nothing saying that, like, if we're selling digital copies only, that I can't go buy some fucking PSN card.
Right.
Or like a card with a game on it, which already exists.
I meant like brick and mortar.
Pay cash for it at a brick and mortar store.
Yeah.
Pay cash for it, and then go home and
because brick and mortar will exist for those people.
And if you can't
but
download it,
I mean, like
if your internet connection sucks and you can't download a game, we've seen solutions to that in the past too.
Yeah.
You know.
Put that thing on a thumb drive.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, dating back as far as the BS games on SNES, like that is an old concept when it comes to video games, you know, and it worked. It didn't work here in the States, but it never launched here in the States.
Yeah.
You know.
But then like, so here's the thing too is, I think that they're like, as far as like the resale model goes, I think that eventually, you know, unless people start taking like pre-owned, you know, game keys, like I think that's gonna eventually go away too.
Yeah, and I don't like, even though I made the argument that pre-owned game keys could work and selling pre-owned digital copies of games could work, I don't think anyone's going to agree to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that's something we're going to see anytime soon.
So
we haven't seen it yet with movies or music. Why are we going to see it with games?
So
you know?
like on like a large, so like on the large scale, you know, with like I think that pre-owned games are at some point going to be relegated to like specialty shops at some point.
Yeah. I mean, no different than it is now with like retro game stores and all
Right.
that, you know?
Right. But then like once we reach the inevitable all digital future, you know, then it's going to be like more of like a specialty thing. Like,
You couldn't see there being some sort of kiosk at Best Buy or Walmart for that?
for like pre-owned stuff?
Not for pre-owned, but for digital purchases.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
In fact, it would be actually it would make really good business sense.
Because I don't
for you
think
to set
pre-owned will
something up.
happen. I don't think it'll happen. It can. Legally and conceivably, yes, it does work. But I
It's a
don't
hard
think,
concept
I
to
don't
get
think
someone
it
to
will
buy
happen.
into, though.
Yeah.
I think it would make good business sense for there to be kiosks like that in retailers. Like you know, and put some like crazy gimmicky name around it, and you know, you got yourself your game store. But
I mean, look at the PC space, right? PC has kind of always been ahead of the game by a little bit, right? Yes, you can still buy physical copies of PC games for a very, very small amount of games.
A niche
Yeah.
amount.
Right?
Yeah.
Most big publishers don't even make physical copies anymore.
No.
Yeah.
There's still some, but very, very few. And we don't see used sales on PC games, you know.
I mean, it's to the point where like, I mean, then look at your computer, man. There's no disk drive,
Right.
you know, because it's kind of, you know, it's indicative of, you know, the landscape at this
You don't
point.
need it anymore.
Yeah.
Unless you want to burn Blu-rays or something like that, you know.
Yeah. And even still, I guess you could get like a external or something. I don't know, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think, you know, I've always been I've utilized the whole I've traded in games before. Like, it's not like part of my usual MO, but I have done it. And it's a good, for me, I always thought of it kind of like as a last resort kind of thing.
It's a good thing for kids.
Yeah.
And for people that don't have a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
Like when I was a kid and all I had was my measly allowance every couple of weeks, I wasn't going to play a lot of games if I didn't trade in games.
Sure.
You know, it is a good thing for the consumer. It's a consumer friendly thing.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing for developers.
Yeah.
It is not a good thing for publishers.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think that's probably that's probably what, I don't know. I think that there's,
And if you don't want to see the jump to $70 for a AAA game, these are the things that are necessary.
which, I mean, we've talked about it like before, how I almost butt dialed somebody. We talked about it before where games are actually underpriced.
Underpriced is a matter of opinion, right? They are cheaper than they have ever been. That is a fact.
Or they could reasonably be more expensive.
Right. But you know, without things like full price retail sale and DLC and things of that nature, you know, that's what allows us to keep games at $60 now for over
DLC.
10 years. For over 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Without that, games will have to go up at some point.
Yeah. You know, and you know, we'll kind of want to encap that with, you know, there's always been criticism of DLC too, right? It was like, there's that. I'm sure both of you have seen that fucking metaphor of there's the burger and that's the game, and then the DLC is all the toppings and shit.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of places you already pay like 50 cents for cheese to be added. So
that's true.
I'm just putting this out there.
I mean, people that say that, like, that's a case by case basis, right? Look at Blood and Wine.
Yeah.
Like, that is big enough to be its own game.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and like my whole thing is like, did I get $60 out of what's on this disc?
Right.
Or is what you paid a complete game and what's being added, does that like make if I feel like if you pay the $60 and it's a complete game and it makes sense and it's cool, then I think it's good. And if all the DLC just kind of adds more fun stuff to something you already love, I think it's great. But if you can't beat the game or you're not getting the full story without the DLC, then that's a problem.
I've only ever seen one case where I felt like I had purchased an incomplete game.
You saying that, Shanee, I'm not going to remember. There is a game that released like last year or the year before where the DLC had the ending to the game, and I can't remember what it was. And like that's a case where I see that argument.
Yeah, but that's like that's more an exception than the rule,
Right.
Well, but like that's just the one that he remembers. But there's plenty of other games.
Well, yeah, sure. But
well, even with Breath of the Wild, like, will the story DLC kind of wrap up that game's story a bit better? And if it does, that's kind of shitty,
I felt satisfied.
I feel like you're the minority in that. I see more people talking about how they felt like the ending was lacking. And we know that the story DLC will not be playable Zelda like a lot of people had thought. It will not be that. It will be directly related to what we did in that game, And if that's the case, and that story DLC does wrap it up better, I think that's shitty. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but if it is the case,
well, but I also think things like that matter. Like with Mass Effect 3. Mm-hmm. Like if they're listening to complaints by their consumers and then putting out DLC to fix that. I think that
sure, but this is not that though.
But
this is not that.
I think that like there is a difference. There is a difference.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still not great.
That DLC was well underway before that game ever came out.
Yeah, I was like, it's still not great. But but then again, with Legend of Zelda, like I was trying to hurry up and finish that, so I could like focus on moving.
Yeah. So your life wasn't consumed. Yeah. Sure.
I was like,
I get that.
I was like, I have to complete it. I only live in this apartment for another couple of days, and I gotta move.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah, so then again, I wasn't like super concerned. I was just like, yeah, I beat it. Now I gotta go shove things in boxes.
So, for either of you, how closely were you following that game prior to its release?
I was not really I love Zelda.
Yeah.
I always have, but I was not following that game. Like I wasn't really hyped for that game until the Switch event trailer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that is one of the best video game trailers.
So, would you like? I think that there are a lot of like because of the pedigree that Legend of Zelda comes from. I think that there are a lot of things about that game that were, I guess, preconceived, and things that people expected to see within that game. Now, do you feel like that game lived up to?
Absolutely. We have a friend. We all three have this friend who really enjoyed bitching about that game because
every game.
Because it wasn't like old Zeldas, right? There were very few proper dungeons. There was not do this dungeon to get the hook shot, do that dungeon to get this or that or whatever, right?
Just like do whichever one.
So to that made it bad to him,
right?
Or her.
I mean, I think this game shits on most open world games,
right?
It's an extremely good game.
We've talked about how organic every movement feels, and
you're like I said, you're not going to see it this year, but in games going forward, you will see more open world games trying to do this.
Yeah.
And honestly, we've talked about it multiple times. We've hammered in this point so often. Like, not everyone's going to be happy. Like, let's look at Duke Nukem. Like, it was exactly like the old ones.
Yeah,
it was like the old ones, and people shit on that.
Yeah.
Legend of Zelda's new.
Well, to be fair, Legend of Zelda is like I mean, it's like the first Zelda. It's very much like the first Zelda.
Oh,
you know.
But like, it's similar, but it's also still very different as
Sure.
as far as like actually playing it.
There's no climbing in Zelda 1.
You don't get to see that sweet Link booty.
Yeah.
But I just I'm not gonna make everybody happy, and
But what game ever will though, right?
Half-Life 3.
Yeah, right.
I hear that every time someone mentions it, it actually gets pushed back 17 days.
You know what's weird? This week, for you listening to it,
Half-Life got updated after 19 years, right?
which is weird. Like a lot of people were like, well, that means nothing for a new Half-Life game. But like if you think back to Portal 1, like they went back and changed that game in preparation for Portal 2.
Right.
Which is kind of... I mean, I'm not saying Half-Life 3 is happening. I'm not one of those people.
Yeah.
But
I mean, should it?
The only other time that Valve has done that was in preparation for a sequel.
I mean,
Right.
I just, like, okay, so Episode 2 came out 10 years ago now.
Yeah. I didn't mean to make this about Half-Life. I'm sorry.
No, but I think it's a good thing, because here's the thing. If let's say it did come out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And like people have had over a decade to think about like what Half-Life 3 could be.
Sure.
And I think that goes for that same thing goes for Last Guardian. They had over a decade to think about what that game was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any point at which like that game or any game that takes that long could live up to anyone's expectations?
Yes.
Uh,
Final Fantasy 15 proved that.
yeah. What do you think the expectations were for that game though?
For 15?
Yeah.
I think the expectations for 15 were, one, try to stick to the same story that you showed when you released the initial Versus 13 trailer.
Right.
And two, get away from what 13 was.
Yes.
And it accomplished both of those things.
Yeah.
And was like super endearing.
I mean, having not played it, because I've not played that game. But
I played. I
people
played,
seem to love it.
I played a couple days into it.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Somehow miraculously it was profitable.
Yeah.
So,
considering how much money they dumped.
Is it possible? Yes. Is it possible that they could make a Half-Life 3 and have it have critical success and financial success? Yes, it's possible.
Yeah.
Is it probable? I don't know.
No.
Not unless they change. I mean,
people are going to buy that game out of curiosity.
Sure.
And it's going to be exactly like Legend of Zelda. Some people are going to bitch about it, and some people are going to love it, and that's fine.
But you say some people are going to bitch about it. I only know one people that bitched about Zelda. Like
I saw a couple other ones, but it was just like fucking edgelords.
Yeah, I mean, like a game like Half-Life. We talked about it. There are very, very few franchises that could release a game with no notice and do well, and Half-Life is one of those.
Like if it
franchises.
just showed up on just showed up on Steam one day.
Right, Half-Life is one of those franchises.
It's the hidden part of the update to Half-Life 1. It's just Half-Life 3's in there.
Yeah. I think something I talked about before, which is part of what I think I made this point mostly with I think it was like 6 months ago, like mostly with No Man's Sky. And like people see media for a thing, and then based on how that media is presented, and based on what they choose to look further into, then they have certain expectations for what the game would be, and that,
as they should.
Yeah. And the thing is that doesn't always line up with what they actually.
It doesn't. But like, I think Sean Murray seems like a very nice guy. But when you come out and say things about the product that you are releasing that are false, what do you expect?
Right. And I think that but really, see, here's the thing is that we also have talked about how he had no experience with, addressing.
No, you're right. I mean, he's a small
side.
developer who's never talked in front of a big crowd like that.
He should have definitely been. He
But
should have
the
said
fact of the matter is,
said.
you don't lie about it.
Yeah, he shouldn't have said stuff that he said. But like at the same time, like, see, somebody should have talked to him beforehand. But also, like,
he shouldn't have been talking about the game at all.
Yeah.
You know,
They should have had some like.
Should have been Sony PR.
Yeah.
you know what I'm really excited about, and we can see if it meets up later to like something that's going to be what it is. Kingdom Hearts next year.
Dude, did you see the trailer yesterday?
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Toy Story?
It's so beautiful, and they look good.
I'm not even like super into Kingdom Hearts, but man, that looked fucking
There
awesome.
was no yucks the entire video.
Like Andy's room, I was like, okay, whatever. It's
They should have
Andy's
made
room.
Donald Duck a rubber ducky.
Is there an English version of that?
Yes.
No.
Yes, there is.
Oh, is there?
Right after they announced it, they were like, "Hey, there is an English trailer."
Yeah, 'cause
Oh,
I watched the Japanese
Yeah.
one,
I
and
watched the Japanese one.
I was
3
having
times.
a really
Yeah.
hard time understanding Donald's Japanese.
But
Well,
you know,
there's subtitles
Andy's
on
room
it.
just kind of looked
No one I
whatever.
was
But
watching
like
didn't have
once they're
subtitles.
outside, like in the yard, like in the grass,
So
like it looks fucking awesome.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! And then I love it. I loved how fluid it looked from like one room to the next. Like when they show up in there and then are fighting the little things before the bed.
Yeah.
I'm
Also, like you have like a fucking squad with you. You don't have like a character or two with you. You've got like fucking everybody's right behind you fighting at the same time.
So I have a question. So Tim Allen did. Wasn't it Tim Allen?
Yes, Tim Allen was Buzz Lightyear.
He doesn't do the voice work for
No, he's a busy guy.
for like games and stuff. His brother does.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Robert Allen.
And I wonder if he did the voice voice for this one.
When was Kingdom Hearts 3 first announced?
When Kingdom Hearts 2
long
came out.
time.
It was
When
on-
Kingdom Hearts 2 came out?
Yes.
Is that true?
Wow.
Well, because at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2, on the original, like not the greatest hits, but just like the regular Kingdom Hearts 2,
Yeah.
at the end of it, there was a trailer for 3.
Really?
Yes. So as soon as Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, the trailer for
So
3
that
was
had
out.
to have been within. So you said it was probably like the greatest hits version, right? So
No,
that had
I
to have
don't
been,
think
like,
it was. I think it was the OG. I mean,
Okay.
it might have been the greatest hits, and I could be remembering
because
wrong, but
Kingdom
I'm
Hearts
pretty
2
sure.
came out like 10 years ago.
I think it was 11.
Yeah.
Because,
I mean, look, it doesn't matter. Everybody knows that Square has a problem with this.
Yeah.
That's not new.
So okay. So what are you hoping for out of Kingdom Hearts 3 then?
alright, so what am I hoping for? Honestly,
Like, are you hoping for like new mechanics? Are you hoping for
alright, so with Kingdom Hearts and a couple other series, including Legend of Zelda, which is why I think I was pretty okay with like that, not just the moving thing, but just like the kind of ending where I was
Sure,
just like,
sure.
hey, I
I
finished
mean, I was okay with it too.
I was like, I finished it.
you know.
That's what I was most happy
Yeah.
about. But I really enjoy the feeling I get when I play Kingdom Hearts. I love nostalgia. I love the giggles. I love like the small characters. I've always read fan fiction, and and that's what Kingdom Hearts kind of feels like. It's just like you're an OC.
You're the second person I've heard say that this week. That Kingdom Hearts is like great fan fiction.
It really, I didn't know that, but like
Yeah.
it really is, and I love it. I love it. It makes me feel so happy to see things in a different way. I think it's so fun, and I like. I mean, of course, I love most Square games.
Mm-hmm.
So their battle systems I've always enjoyed. I've never really had a huge problem with any of the battle systems. Like, not. There's a couple of them that I was like meh about, but for the most part, like I've enjoyed them all.
Yeah.
I'm excited to. I'm excited to see what they do new. I'm more excited about the story. I'm more excited to see the new characters. I know that it's going from like even looking at it, there is a lot of similarities to the like as far as like how you attack and stuff like that to all of the Kingdom Hearts games that I've played, and yeah, I'm super excited.
So let me ask you this. How could Kingdom Hearts 3 disappoint you?
All right, if as you played it, it felt clunky to where it detracted from the gameplay and how easily it is to move around, and detracts from the story.
Has that ever been a problem with those games?
No.
Okay.
I think that the biggest thing that Kingdom
Oh,
Hearts...
no. You know what? Dream Drop Distance was a little bit rough because there was times that you had to switch between the two of them, and I was like just to a point where I'm like, oh, I'm excited what's around this corner, and I want to get that, but I only have
But you
like
can't get
10
that.
seconds left before I have to jump. And yeah, I know I want to get back to it, and I'm going to be exactly where I was, but I like that completionist feeling.
Yeah.
And it feels really good to like get to a good spot, have them be at the same spot too, because they're going through like basically just parallel dimensions of like the same area.
Okay.
So like your two characters, so you're swapping between the two, and yeah, it's just like they would get off track and get at different points, and I'm like, no, I want you at the same point.
So what comes to mind for you is that the way that Kingdom Hearts 3 could be a letdown is if the controls were bad.
Yeah, I guess if it's, I mean, because it seems like they're gonna be able to play like Riku with and like that's kind of like the big like rumor right now.
Which one is he?
He's the pale gray white spiky haired dude, not the brown haired one or the yellow haired one.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of people are thinking that he's gonna be a playable character, which if so, if it's
And why would they think that?
if it's more like a Birth by Sleep thing, where because in Birth by Sleep you play as 3 personas, but it's not like Dream Drop Distance where you have to swap between each one. If you can swap, I don't mind different playable characters because, like I said, Birth by Sleep was amazing and it did the same thing. If it was more like that and not like Dream Drop Distance, then I'd be happy.
You just got Shanee real excited talking about Kingdom Hearts.
I know you did. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring it back down for a second.
Okay.
I think that the biggest problem that could come from Kingdom Hearts 3 are problems that have persisted in other Kingdom Hearts games. And that's character development and not necessarily character development, characters in general. What I'm getting at is like the Final Fantasy aspect of Kingdom Hearts. There's little reason for Final Fantasy characters to be in Kingdom Hearts other than
besides to be happy,
other than to sell, right?
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. But even some of the Disney characters, like Mickey Mouse in Kingdom Hearts,
is the king.
Is not how Mickey Mouse ever acts in anything Mickey Mouse has ever been in. Just happens to be shaped like Mickey Mouse and talk like Mickey Mouse.
Right.
You know?
Well, it makes sense in the kingdom it makes sense in the kingdom for him to be the king of it.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying the way that he acts. Mickey Mouse is
like a badass?
Is this fucking jolly, happy guy. He never acts like a badass except in Kingdom Hearts. Don't I understand adaptation, but like there is nothing about Mickey Mouse in Kingdom Hearts that is Mickey Mouse other than the character design and the voice.
Yeah.
I feel like there's like definitely times where he has been jolly.
Well, I'm not saying that he hasn't been in Kingdom Hearts, but like there is nothing that Mickey Mouse has ever been in, not one thing where he acts like a tough badass like he does in Kingdom Hearts.
But that's fine though. Why does like
I think for you as a person who enjoys this franchise, more so than a person who enjoys Mickey Mouse, it's not a problem. I think for people who are super into Mickey Mouse, of which there are many,
I mean, there's
it's a poor representation of that character.
There's plenty of Mickey Mouse shirts at Walmart you can go enjoy.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said earlier, it's like amazing fan fiction. So like, why?
It's amazing fan fiction for people who are not fans of those characters.
No, you just detach yourself, like the same way I do when I watch like comic book movies, and I know the characters, I know what they're supposed to be like, and I know that storyline is bullshit. But you know what? Like I'm just like, all right, you just have to let all that go and see what this interpretation of it's like.
Well, I mean, look, I'm not saying for me personally, Shanee, but like that might be easier for you than it is for fans of the source material. You know,
it's not easy, but it's stupid to get mad about it, though.
I don't think it's necessarily stupid.
I do.
All right. Well, okay. I think that the main draw of any game that's that has like a long lead up time is thinking about things that have been rumored and thinking about things that we're hoping for. And it's funny because it's funny how easily rumors can like weave themselves into what we believe the game will be.
Right.
It's funny to see how it like and we're talking like things that like could exist independently of anything that the publisher has released for the game.
Sure.
Or anything that anybody who's talking on the game has said about the game.
Sure.
It's just, we know that the internet has a life of its own, right? So,
yeah.
And a lot of times, like all it takes is someone will say something, and then it becomes a rumor, and then that rumor gets out of control, and then at some point, people become sort of expectant that we'll see a certain thing in the game, and then that will also color the perception of that game when it's released. And when we don't see that rumor that we were really excited about, it's kind of like, well, really wish that actually turned out to be true, right?
That's why I just don't
Yeah.
get excited unless it's confirmed.
Yeah, I think transparency is important for sure. You saw things like people were psyched for the Order 1886.
Yeah.
Then not a lot of people liked it, right?
Yeah.
And it's not because
Same with
like
Watch Dogs. A lot of people expected that to be
yeah,
very different.
Ready,
Yeah.
but there's a
Yeah.
difference there, though. You know, Ubisoft with Watch Dogs showed off something that was not the product that you're getting.
Yes.
Sure.
Ready at Dawn with the Order did not do that. It's what you're saying. People had expectations that were never presented to them.
Yeah.
You know, whereas something like Hellblade, which comes out next month, which I'm quite excited for.
Sure.
They're going out of their way to be extremely transparent about this game.
Yeah.
They're telling you, hey, this is about half the length of a regular game.
Sure.
Like they came out and said that, you know.
Yeah.
This is because of that we're charging you about half the price of a regular game.
Right,
And I
right.
think that's smart.
Right.
You know.
Do you think that wasn't the Order full retail?
Yes.
Okay, and people were disappointed by that game. Well, they were critical of that game because largely in the mindset that like length of game equals quality equals value.
The length of the game and people were the majority of the issues I saw with the Order was one it is a short game. And by short I mean you can beat it in probably like 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is almost kind of standard shooter like.
Right. That like it does kind of feel like a shooting gallery. It's
Yeah.
you know extremely linear. They never said it wasn't going to be.
Yeah.
You know. And they never presented you with level of design that was not in the final product.
Yeah.
You know?
And now, okay, so on the other side of that, I think the one like the most infamous perpetrator of all this is Mr. Peter Molyneux.
Molyneux.
Yeah, Mr. Molyneux, who like he has at times blatantly misrepresented, the product that he's working on.
How do you mean?
Well, not blatantly. I think that's kind of strong.
I think that the problem with Peter Molyneux is he speaks very romantically about.
I think that he
certain
believes the
things.
things that he says.
I think he does too. I think he speaks very romantically about certain game mechanics that might seem more important to him than other people. Like I remember when Fable 3 was getting ready to launch, the biggest thing that Peter Molyneux spoke about in that game was the ability to grab somebody by the hand.
Yeah,
and
that
walk
was really
with them.
important to him.
And that was really important to him.
Yeah,
And
it's not an important.
people
mechanic
played
in the
that game and like it doesn't really do much, you know.
and it
like,
doesn't even work
you
that
know.
well either. So,
But that's okay. I mean, if that's stronger for one man than millions of others, that's okay.
yeah,
I think he's just trying to give a hint that he wants someone to hold his hand.
I think that is like a very.
He can hold hands with Phil Fish, and you know,
I think maybe he was just trying
They
to
can hate
say it
video
on the
games
sly.
together.
yeah.
So like that's another thing too is that I think that was a good adjective to use. Like I think that he historically has been very romantic about game development and the products that he's putting out, and I think that as a result, because I think that when we think romantically about anything, we kind of we embellish details of whatever it is we're talking about.
I just can't think of an instance where Phil Fish, where Peter Molyneux came out and straight up lied about something.
I don't think he's
you know?
ever like. Again, I think that he honestly believes everything that he says.
Yeah.
I don't think that he's ever lied about anything. But like, regardless, we talk about
But
if you talk about the game that you're
omitting that they're omitting some of the problems or omitting like what is going on and focusing on something like hand holding.
But
I
what
feel
problems
like
can you think of that he omitted though? Like I just think, like Ryan says, he kind of makes things into a bigger deal than they actually
Well,
are.
I mean, y'all are
but-
more. No, I'm not talking about necessarily him,
Yeah.
but I do feel like it is a problem. Like,
Oh, you know, absolutely.
It's the same. Stutter kicking in. Let me restart that. Sorry. But like what we were saying earlier is transparency.
Sure.
Like you can say that you're transparent because you're talking about this one awesome feature and you're being so transparent about it. But if you're not gonna acknowledge the other issues or what else is going on.
So do you think it's Ready at Dawn's responsibility to come out and say, hey, this game is very linear?
I think that it was. I think for Mass Effect 3, they should have talked about the fact that there wasn't fucking different endings in the beginning or when it first came out.
Yeah.
And then I wasted years and hours of my life for something that didn't really matter when the game
But
came out.
I think that's under
Yeah.
the assumption that they perceive it to be a problem.
Right.
and they might not perceive that to be a problem because it might
Well, if
be
you're gonna
creative
like
intent.
for years.
Yeah, when
push
you
it,
have
push.
a series that is typically one way and then to end it in a
Yeah.
different,
When you push
Yeah.
like,
Right.
hey, this is awesome feature where you can start your next game
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree
based
with
off
you.
your other ones.
I agree with
and
you.
and they have like
People are going to assume that products are going to be similar to the previous products,
And why wouldn't they?
Right. I agree with you there for sure.
Well, it's also like oh, it's gonna come to conclusion. Well, like they have acted for the entire series that your choices and the things that you did mattered, and then at the end of it, they said,
Did y'all hear about Andromeda, by the way? That you can now play the first 10 hours of that game for free and then buy it for half off.
I had not heard
They're
that.
trying real hard. They're trying real hard to make that a thing, man. You can play the first 10 hours of that game regardless of what platform you're playing on, and then once you do that, you can get it for half off.
"Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
That seems
I'm gonna keep going with Persona."
crazy to me.
I mean, it's indicative of how well that game's doing.
Yeah,
you know?
but I mean,
So well.
here's the thing:
Yeah.
is that like you take the team, give them an engine specifically built for first-person shooters, and you take the team who their expertise lies primarily in smaller DLC, and then tell them to make a huge game, and then
Well, because you've got the A team on Anthem, you know.
yeah. So let's throw the DLC team to the wolves. And
I think that
then-
makes sense, though. Like, it didn't work out, but I think that made the most sense as far as development of the products go.
yeah.
You know, you can't put your best team or one of your best teams on a product that is
don't
a
care
gamble.
about.
That is a gamble.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
it is a part of like one of your flagship franchises, though.
Mass Effect was a flagship franchise.
Okay.
You know, after 3, it was questionable at best.
Mm.
You know, the reception to 3 was not good. People were not happy with the game with how that trilogy ended. It was the last game of the proper trilogy. So I think Andromeda was a gamble. I think it would have been dumb for them to put BioWare proper on it. You know,
You know,
maybe better for the game,
Yeah.
but not better for business.
I start to wonder if that game would have been good or well received either way. You know,
Yeah.
but they kind of it's that's another thing too, is that like I think that you kind of like you did not have high hopes for that game because of the
For Andromeda?
yeah, because you know you had regularly commented on like,
That it had problems. There were
Yeah.
issues. Yeah.
yeah, and then like one of the things that like was very indicative to you, especially during the times that they showed it, was well, we didn't see any gameplay.
Right.
We saw people in an office, and
I believe it was shown one
Yeah.
time. I could be wrong, but I believe it was shown one time before the game came out that we actually saw like real gameplay. Right? There was
The developer's journal.
well, there like the gameplay reveal of that game showed you walking around, and that was literally it.
Yeah.
That was the gameplay reveal for Mass Effect Andromeda.
yeah.
You know.
So so that brings me back to my point of like, you know, we rely heavily on what people say about their games, and
Yeah.
I mean, why not? We should consider that to be a reliable source of information, right?
Sure.
But at the same time, is the onus on us as consumers to read between the lines and look at these things and be like, and like measure our expectations based on how we can see the development of this game is going?
I don't know. I mean, I think it really depends on when
It's a
you decide
collaborative
to buy
effort.
in. You know, when do you decide to buy in? When do you decide that you're going to buy this game?
Yeah.
Right? Like with Mighty Number 9, day one, I was like, "Yep, this is it. He's back. This is going to be fan-fucking-tastic." Did you know that this week is when people received their pledge products, like their bonus items for that game? This week.
When
Holy
did that game come out?
shit.
Like a year and a half ago?
Long enough ago that it
Yeah.
should have already happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. People are getting their Beck statues now.
Now,
Now.
Beck statue?
The main character is Beck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like.
The singer.
like,
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, you get a Beck statue with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah,
Wish I would've
they send you
pledged.
2 turntables and a microphone.
Yeah, it's crazy. Not to mention that like people were getting their keys for the wrong console for the
Yeah,
you know
I remember that. Yeah.
when you pledge that early, yeah, you probably shouldn't have, but they also probably shouldn't have done those things.
Sure.
You know, and I'm not talking about just like backing a game in that instance. Whether it's like the first time you see Mass Effect Andromeda, you're like, oh yeah, pre-ordering that.
Yeah.
You know, even that's kind of dumb.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, Ubisoft shouldn't show off Watch Dogs and be like, this is what the game is.
Well, like,
you know,
like,
like they
awesome
shouldn't do that
hacking
either.
game.
like to
Yeah.
be, and to that point, like we go back further than that with what we saw for Aliens Colonial Marines. What we were shown previously was a different game.
I think that like with Alien Colonial Marines, like you look at that developer's history,
Yeah.
you look at the history of Gearbox, and what can you really point to that tells you this game's going to be awesome?
Yeah, because I think
know?
we've both I think we've both said like the only Gearbox game that we like is
Borderlands 2.
Yeah, Borderlands 2.
Like for me anyways, specifically Borderlands 2.
Yeah.
What they worked on for Blizzard was all great.
What did they work on for Blizzard?
They worked on Warcraft.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they left Blizzard and
Yeah.
then created Gearbox. That's why Borderlands has like the Blizzard-esque system for your weapons, like blue, purple, whatever. It's because they worked at Blizzard.
That's news to me.
Yeah, like it's like it is a seasoned team that all worked together at Blizzard and then didn't like where World of Warcraft was going, so they
Sure.
left and created their own studio.
And that's
like as a team.
you know, and that's cool. That's good to know. I didn't know that before, but like the fact is, the products that they've put out themselves.
Brother at Arms wasn't terrible when it came out.
Sure.
It has aged and it does not stand the test of time.
Sure.
That is correct.
But
But
I could name a lot of their products that were lacking, like a significant amount of Gearbox products that are not great, like Colonial Marines, like the pre-sequel, you know, like Duke Nukem Forever, like, you know, there's a lot of not good things from those guys. And what I'm saying is, when the majority of what they put out, especially closer to that game, right, closer to Colonial Marines, is not good, why would you expect that to be good?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like you can definitely tell which games for them have been a labor of love based on like how all the development for it has gone. Like with Borderlands and the things that they were putting out before it came out, like it just seemed like they were just obviously more invested with Borderlands 1 than I ever saw or read about all the other stuff they've done. Alien Colonial Marines, it feels like that was like kind of not, I wouldn't say like assigned to them, but it did feel like they were trying to make an Aliens game that people would like.
Yeah, but I guess to be fair, like they weren't the only
But also,
people that worked on that game. But I mean, what was the last new IP that you actually tried? Like nothing part of like an established franchise
From Gearbox?
or from anybody.
Oh, from anybody?
Yeah.
Does it have to be new or is it new to me?
Like, I guess. Well,
My
here's
Horse Prince, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
New IP.
Well, what I'm saying is like, okay, so you measure your expectations for Kingdom Hearts 3, for example, because of what you played in the previous Kingdom Hearts games, right?
With new franchises, I just like kind of like, oh, what interests me with it? It like catches my eye as far as the trailer goes.
Sure.
Then I try and look at like what it actually is and like just Google it and like see. And then I normally just end up like hitting different pages, like seeing what else this team has worked on.
Yeah.
Seeing
Yeah.
seeing what kind of genre it's being labeled as, because maybe the trailer doesn't make it obvious what it's like.
I mean, here's the thing. I don't mean to talk so shitty about Gearbox, and obviously you know more about them than I do. But what I'm getting at is with a new game, regardless of who it is or who makes it, I don't think that it's not smart to look at what they've done in the past and gauge what you think this game might be like.
Sure.
You know, Ni no Kuni 2 is a great example of that. Like, Ni no Kuni 1 did not fly off the shelves. Not a lot of people bought that game.
I loved it though.
But if you see the trailers for Ni no Kuni 2, and you go back and look at what Level 5 has done in the past, you see a lot of great work. And from that, you could assume that this is probably going to be a great game.
Yeah. like, and I don't mean to keep bringing it back to this, but like, if you like, if we're talking about like what a developer has done before to help measure our expectations for their new game that they're making, then like I feel like if you look back at what Hello Games did before No Man's Sky, that's kind of
Exactly right. Like Joe Danger, there's nothing wrong with that game.
yeah,
But it's
a very different.
It's a tiny little game.
Yeah.
You know, to expect a masterpiece out of this, what technically is like one of the largest games ever made.
Yeah.
You know,
But also-
it's asking a lot. But it's not crazy to think that a lot of people thought that because of things that came out of Sean Murray's mouth.
Sure.
But also,
You know?
I think I don't know. To circle back to before with Gearbox, Brother in Arms, I think was the only game before Borderlands 1, right?
I don't know. I
I'm
mean,
pretty-
you would know better than me.
I think Brother in Arms was the first one. Maybe there was one before that, but I think like Borderlands was like the second or third game they put out.
Well,
And-
I do know I found out recently that they worked on the Half-Life like side games like Blue Shift and all that,
Oh.
which I did not know.
I didn't know either.
That being said, I don't know. I cannot speak to the quality of those because I've not played them.
But still saying like, I am, if it's something that in a genre that interests me, and they are talking about it, and like what I see of it, when I'm reading about it, it seems like a labor of love.
Yeah.
Like Borderlands was.
Yeah.
Then I will get excited about it to give it a try,
Sure.
even if the track record hasn't been super great. But
Do you think
very
Borderlands
rare,
is really-
but very rarely am I going to buy it day one. And I thought Borderlands was great. I loved Borderlands 1. I know it's lacking in story, and I'm normally like all about story.
Mm-hmm.
I am aware of the problems in it, but it was so like the art style was just so beautiful at the time. There was nothing coming out around them that looked like that, and it was a slow creep. People didn't appreciate it till later because it didn't sell very like amazingly at launch. It did a lot of its sales in the next 6 months.
Do you think that Borderlands 2 was a labor of love when they
Oh.
changed the direction of that game based on marketing?
No, I do. I do think though that Borderlands 2 was a great addition. I
Yeah.
think that
Or not Borderlands. I'm sorry, the original Borderlands. Do you think the original Borderlands was labor of love when they changed very much the tone and feel of that game based on marketing?
well, not just the things that the changes that I saw going through it, it didn't seem like it was just marketing. I do feel like some of it was, but I don't know. I feel like there's always like times of the project that like it will take a turn, but I think that what you do with it really matters.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the art style did slightly change, but it didn't drastically.
I'm not talking
change.
about the art style. I'm talking about the tone of that game and the story of that game.
because they wanted more of the story in there, and like I think we've mentioned it before, and I've mentioned it before. The only reason I knew all of the characters' backstories and
Yeah.
anything about them is because I read about it in magazines or in interviews, other places, and it just felt like they weren't. They just like they were trying really hard, and just it didn't feel like they were able to like get that story in there like they wanted to originally.
Yeah.
And I just think that happens with some projects. You just aren't able to accomplish everything and still have it be cohesive and great and work. And I like that, like I said, we've talked about it before with like sexualizing characters. I like that they changed the siren to a female instead of it being a mad scientist.
Wait, what do you mean as far as sexualizing the character?
Oh, we talked about what in our sexualizing characters episode.
Yeah.
And I was talking,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I said that like doing it well, like having siren is a good idea instead, like just because wouldn't matter because there wasn't any story if it was
Sure.
male or female.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has always been something that I loved to talk about just because of the fact that like I'm somebody who like I like looking at video games from like from a sociological standpoint, and you know looking at the way people react to well basically everything. And I typically don't agree with I typically don't agree with how people tend to react to a lot of things, just because maybe I don't feel like I know more than anybody else, but I feel like
You know your truth better than anyone else.
I just feel like I take more things into consideration where a lot of this stuff is concerned.
Well, I think there's also like a lot of people need to realize that whether you watch this show or it's us or you watch other gaming shows, the majority of people out there do not know all this information.
Yeah.
You know, the majority of people just saw some ad on YouTube and went to buy the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that should be considered.
Or their friends have it and they want to play with their friends,
Exactly,
and they
right.
don't know anything besides
Right.
three.
Besides, they want to play a fun video game, and this looks like a fun video game, you know?
Yeah.
And that's enough for most people, you know?
And you know what?
The majority, like, everybody that watches these gaming podcasts and shows and YouTube channels and is on Twitch, that is the tiniest sliver of the pie, you know?
Yeah.
The majority are the people that walk into GameStop and say, hey, that looks fun.
Yeah.
You know.
like box art.
Right.
They're just looking at the box art, which I feel like I haven't done in years now. It's been so long since I can't think of the last time I bought a game based on, hey, I like this box art, let me pick it up. I just don't feel like I do that anymore.
Or just one ad.
Yeah.
You know, or like Shanee said, just a friend's recommendation.
Sure.
You know, yeah, the gaming community is the smallest little sliver of the pie.
Yeah.
You know.
And you know.
Well, I guess the gaming media community, because anybody
Sure.
that's buying a game is in part of the gaming community.
Sure. But you know what I mean. People that consume all of this content.
Yeah, and I think
that is nowhere near the
and
amount
it's
of people
funny
that do not.
because like, you know, it's the smallest portion of the community, but like, and like you said, like there are very few people who seek this kind of stuff out, so we're kind of all just talking to each other.
And it's funny because like people think that because you do this, you care more than the person who just goes to buy the game to enjoy it.
Yeah, which
That's not
that's
true.
that's subjective.
Yeah.
You know, I did have one more thing I want to talk about, but we're kind of like running long on time.
I mean, I'm fine.
But I will say this though. I feel as if there are going to be times where you could do all the homework. You could look at everything. You can consume all the content. You can listen to every interview and whatever, and you can have your expectations for a game set based on those things.
Right.
And you know the game can line up with those expectations still, and you can still
enjoy it.
You can still find yourself disappointed, which.
Has that happened to you?
Maybe like once or twice.
Yeah. Because you know, as soon as you started that sentence, I started thinking about like, has that happened to me? And I can't think of a time where I've followed a game that closely. Well, and unless I invested from the start, like Mighty Number 9.
Yeah.
I can't think of a game that
it could be something that you think you want,
Yeah.
and then it turns out you don't want that.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't happen to me that often, but when it does happen, it actually is more disappointed than having my expectations subverted.
Sure. I can see that.
You know, and it's a really powerful thing to run into something like that. And that's kind of, but that then again, that's kind of just that's part of the gamble of being a part of this hobby, right?
Oddly enough, I think that some people felt that way with Fallout 4, because we learned about that game, you know, with such a short period of time before its release that there wasn't time to consume a shit ton of media on the game.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of people disappointed in that game. A lot of people love that game, but there were a lot of people disappointed in that game.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah. And it is actually like very easy to see the arguments that they make against that game, and but they at the same time they also run congruent with a lot of the arguments you will make about pretty much any Bethesda game.
Well, yeah, you know, we've made the argument with The Witcher 3 being out now, and with, you know, Zelda being a thing, even though it wasn't a thing at that time. The Witcher was, right? People are less willing to give Bethesda a pass, you know?
Than they were like before.
Yeah.
But then again, I feel like Bethesda was they were running into the same problem that we criticized Telltale for, is that they were consistently using an engine that like wasn't aging very well.
I think that the difference is that Bethesda seems willing to try to work on this.
Yeah.
You know.
Whereas
Telltale, they say, hey, we're using a revamped version of the same engine, and they say that with the game that is the worst offender of those problems.
Yeah.
You know.
Whereas Fallout.
Which one again?
Batman.
Oh,
Episode 4 of Batman is the worst example of the problems of Telltale games.
I think I only played the 2 with you guys.
Yeah.
So I am. But even then, that had.
You could see it right away in that
I was
first
even
episode.
then. It was even then. There were some problems.
Whereas, you look at Fallout 4 and they're not using the Gamebryo engine that they were using for Fallout 3.
Yeah.
So, I mean, granted, like they generated a whole nother set of problems with the new engine, but at the same time, it's like,
I mean, I had some weird and sometimes entertaining bugs with Fallout 4.
Yeah.
But I don't think I had nearly the amount of issues as I did with Fallout 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's kind of one of the things, like, so it goes, and I think that, and it's kind of a tricky thing too when you have such a small lead up to the game, like the kind that we had with Fallout 4, between announcement and subsequent release, I read up on that game a lot, and I watched that press conference more than once. But like, there's only so much shit that can come out
in that short period of time,
in a 6 month time span.
Well, and it's funny is like that is simultaneously an extremely consumer friendly move and also not very consumer friendly.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
because it doesn't give you much time to research the product.
Yeah. So
that being said, I still prefer that to the Square Enix 10 years. But
Did you hear Last Guardian 2 is going to be coming out in 2036?
Dude, my biggest fear is that Sony's like, bye-bye Team Ico.
Yeah, I mean...
But you still didn't buy the game.
But I will. I will.
I mean, because...
And from what I hear, I will like it,
Over the past 10 years...
You won't, though, Shanee.
Over the past 10 years...
I'm just saying that game's pretty divisive,
Over the past 10 years, like, for most of that time, there wasn't a whole lot said about that game, right?
No, but I mean, they showed it many times.
Yeah.
Many times. And there were rumors, like IGN came out and said, oh yeah, that game is canceled. And then a week later, Sony comes out and says, no, we never said that, Like, there was a lot of drama with that game.
Yeah. Shanee, I thought you were winding up for another... They designed it as a circle joke.
I think, like, Ueda, as a developer, he's very particular.
Yeah.
Seems to be.
Yeah.
From what I know of technically really only 2 games of his that I've played, he seems very, very particular.
Shanee, you mentioned, was it you who mentioned Duke Nukem a little bit ago?
Mm-hmm. Well.
Like, I feel like if that game had come out like when it was supposed to, then like it probably would have been received better.
Yeah.
But like then again, I can't say that for sure because I think Duke Nukem.
People still wouldn't happy with it.
Well, what I'm saying is I think Duke Nukem is very much a product of the '90s.
Oh,
you're right, but like it was also scrapped and then restarted.
But it's also, but it's also a great, funny example to like you're not gonna please everybody sort of thing. Because there's people that loved it and they're like so happy that it was like the old ones and they were super stoked about it. And they're like wanted that bust and all that jazz.
Right, but an example that's that costly is probably not worth it.
Yeah.
Well, I just think it's fun. I think it's a fun example.
Because now I'm wondering like, what are they gonna do with that IP now?
Well, they're going to put them in Bulletstorm like they did.
Oh, right.
Which is funny because Gearbox did not make Bulletstorm.
Yeah, that was an epic game.
But people can fly.
Yeah.
But yeah, they put Duke Nukem in there. So.
And it's pretty much what you'd expect.
Yeah.
They don't even call him Duke.
Yeah. No. Apparently, you played it. No one acknowledges it but him, right?
Yeah, he's the only one who knows that he's Duke.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's the same dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think is kind of funny. Like, if you're gonna do it, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it sold you on it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pretend it didn't.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I want to play as Duke Nukem in Bulletstorm because I think that it'll be totally worth it. It wasn't, but it's fine.
I mean, I didn't check it out on it. Before the game even came out, I didn't check it out on it.
That is.
But that was more for Bulletstorm than for Gearbox or Duke Nukem's involvement.
Like, I feel like, because it was such a, like, that whole thing for me was such an of course moment, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like, I played it and I was like, why did my expectations surpass this? Like
I mean, it's Bulletstorm,
Yeah.
It's nicer looking Bulletstorm with Duke Nukem.
Like, specifically the Duke Nukem thing. Like I was like,
I think it's because our group of friends has enjoyed and made jokes about Duke Nukem for so long that, like, you know, anything new with Duke Nukem in it, you're gonna be excited about it.
I guess I wasn't.
Which Shanee's right. We're not the only ones.
Yeah.
You know, like there's other people that were excited just because Duke Nukem was in that game.
I just feel like,
you know,
I was just like, man, the novelty wore off quick. Because, like, the novelty lasted all of half of a level, and I was like, yeah, I'm good.
Like, I wonder in opening week or even, like, launch day of Bulletstorm and Bulletstorm Full Clip Edition, which sold better?
Yeah.
And is it better just because Duke Nukem? Because that's the only difference, right? Besides the visuals, that's the only difference.
Yeah.
I would be interested to see those numbers.
Yeah.
How well did Duke sell that game, you know?
Well, I can think of one person he sold that game to.
Yeah, you.
Me. But yeah, so.
I think it's a great place to end.
Yeah, me too. Guys.
I never want it to end.
Me neither. I wish we could just live forever.
Just
I do too.
podcast 24/7.
No, just living forever, not podcasting forever.
I don't want to live forever.
No. But I feel like
I feel
through the magic of
It's my curse.
through the magic of the internet, we will live together forever.
That's probably true.
Because I mean, we're on there forever now. You know, somebody's got it forever. So
When do you think the internet's gonna be full?
okay, I don't think you can fill it up.
I don't know if you can fill it up.
Technically, you could.
It would take a lot to fill it up.
Yeah.
So many cats.
How many flops would it take to fill it up? I know
have no
flops is
idea.
a measure of storage. but I
No
wanted to
idea.
use it.
I want to say at least 27 teraflops.
Yeah.
Okay, 27 teraflops.
No, it's not much.
Guys, this was a lot of fun. I of course always enjoy talking to you guys, and of course you at home. I like talking to you too.
Or in the car.
In the car, at work, in the shower, in bed,
Dentist office.
At a cemetery.
dentist office, at a cemetery, making love maybe.
Ooh.
Did you ever consider that someone listened to us while making love? Like we're somebody's background
I
noise?
kind of don't doubt that it's happened. So if you look at our YouTube or Twitch presence, it's very, very small, right?
Yeah.
Not a lot, but we've also not been doing that nearly as long as we've been doing the show. If you look at just the people that listen to us, it's enough people that I think there's a good chance
that we were
that there was a
background
good
noise?
chance that it may have happened at some point.
I mean, I take all of our podcasts and edit you two out, and then just listen to my own voice.
What
while
is
the
the
inbredo
what
doing
is
it.
what is the opposite of an
hot.
aphrodisiac? Because I imagine it's that.
yeah. Boner killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The BK.
Oh.
But as always, it's a pleasure talking to you guys.
BK Kids Club.
Don't use it in that context. Though. As a father, you shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.